Did you guys know that there are at least 3 universes where DC and Marvel coexist? And all of these universes are recognized in the multiverses of DC and Marvel. These 3 Earths share a connection between Marvel and DC superheroes, and 2 of them, they even coexist with the knowledge of each other and operating as superheroes with one another. Now, the reason why I'm even mentioning this is because lately you've heard a lot of people talking about how it would be a dream of theirs to see DC heroes and characters merge and connect with Marvel superheroes and characters in a live action film. That would potentially be a movie that would break box office records and would frankly just blow people's minds. Seeing Batman and Iron Man, or Superman and Captain America, the Justice League and the Avengers merging together. Now, whereas I do have points to as why this would potentially be cool and why it would be really interesting to see it actually happen, I am actually more on the side of saying no. I don't ever want a Marvel and DC movie. I don't think it would be a right call. I'm actually against it more than a lot of people are, but I'll get into my viewpoint as the video comes to a close. So when you look at some of these Earths that exist in comic books, Earth 74425 consists of Marvel and DC characters, but not just that, it doesn't end there. It also contains Tarzan, movie monsters such as Godzilla and King Kong, and for some reason, Action Jackson characters all on one Earth. I'm not exactly sure why, but as you can tell by the artwork, this was clearly created back in maybe the 60s or 70s, so the ideas were a little far left field being people like Tarzan or movie monsters in the same universe with DC and Marvel. But I mean, at that point, why stop there? If you can have juggernauts like Superman and Thor existing in one universe, why not throw in Godzilla? Then you have Earth 3839, or as DC now calls it today, Earth 38. And within this Earth, this is about how Batman and Superman were actually born in the early 1900s, and they started their careers as Batman and Superman in the 20s and 30s. Batman and Superman co-found the Justice League. They create a community for all these superheroes, and even down the line, their footsteps are being followed in the 30th century. Although in this universe, since technically Batman will have been operating in World War II, he does have a run-in with Captain America. In this story, it is about how the Joker and Red Skull are working together, and Batman and Captain America have to stop them. It's not until Joker finds out that Red Skull is technically a Nazi working for the Nazis, where then Joker actually turns on Red Skull. In this universe, Captain America still disappears at the end of World War II, and it's not until another 20 years later, so probably the 60s, maybe even the 70s, where they find Captain America. But at this point, Batman, Bruce Wayne, is retired, and the new Batman is actually Dick Grayson. And then you have Earth 7642, which has actually been one of the most active Earths when crossing over DC and Marvel. This was back in the 70s when Marvel and DC decided to come together and do a bunch of issues with one another, and there are actually a lot here. There's Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man, where Superman and Spider-Man fight Dr. Octopus and Lex Luthor. There's Superman and Spider-Man, where the two battle Doctor Doom and Parasite. Wonder Woman and Hulk are also guest stars in that comic book. There's Batman versus the Incredible Hulk, where Batman needs to fight the Hulk, who is being controlled by the Joker. There's Marvel and DC presenting the Uncanny X-Men and the New New Teen Titans, where X-Men and the Teen Titans need to team up to defeat Dark Phoenix. Batman and Punisher, Lake of Fire, where Batman and the Punisher have to take on Jigsaw and the Joker. Punisher and Batman, Deadly Nights, where once again, Joker and Jigsaw, main villains. Spider-Man and Batman, featuring villains in Joker and Carnage. Batman and Spider-Man, the two face off against Ra's al Ghul and Kingpin. Then you have a heavy-hitting one with Darkseid versus Galactus. Daredevil and Batman, the two join up to fight Two-Face and Mr. Hyde. Batman and Daredevil, the two battle Kingpin and Scarecrow. And then you have the Incredible Hulk versus Superman, which was a setup by Lex Luthor. That's a lot of stories, and of course a lot of stories with very popular characters from DC and Marvel. And then of course you have the super popular comic stories from the 90s. You have DC versus Marvel. You have the amalgam comic books where DC and Marvel characters infuse with one another. But regardless, the point is that not only have DC and Marvel crossed over with one another plenty of times, they have coexisted in the comic books. Now, coexisting is easier in the comic books because it's paper, it's writing, it's drawings, and they can get away with doing some of the craziest things that they've ever wanted to do because it's a comic book. You can change continuities, you can disregard storylines, you could add on to storylines, you can do whatever you want in the world of comic books. There are so many comic books out in the world today, spanning from the 30s all the way into 2022, soon to be 2023, that so many of these comic books get disregarded and forgotten that if you do something with Marvel and DC in the comic books, it's really not remembered in the future. Comic books are a fantastic utility to allow your creativity to come out onto these pages and to do whatever you want with these characters. But moving it into different forms of media, and more specifically movies, shows, and video games, I do not think it is easy to cross over Marvel and DC because I don't think there is a way to make everybody happy. Look at how it is today. When you look at TikTok, for example, that app is filled with content creators who discuss DC and Marvel versus matchups. Who would win between this character and this character? You find it all over TikTok. You also find it on YouTube, and I'm sure you find a little bit of it on Instagram and Twitter. I don't think the discussion of DC versus Marvel characters have ever been discussed so much within the past maybe 3 to 5 years. These discussions are everywhere, these arguments are everywhere, and it literally does nothing but make people angry when you choose one character over the other. That DC versus Marvel comic book is actually canon in DC today. It really happened, and it actually makes people mad today. Because in that comic book, Batman beats Captain America. Superman beats the Hulk. Multiple characters beat each other in that, and there is a huge uproar on the fact that Batman can essentially beat anyone he wants, and it makes people angry. So the fact that that is canon, that happened, that Batman has defeated the Hulk, that Batman can beat Captain America, people do not like that because it does not fit their personalized narrative of the character. These versus battles actually do nothing but pit these fan bases against one another, and it actually does not make us a collective community of superhero comic book film lovers. It makes us battle one another. It makes us hate one another. That's why on this channel, I do not do versus battles. I do not discuss DC versus Marvel. I don't do that stuff because there truly is no definitive answer. Yes, You can do research on these comic books. If I were to say to you who would win between Superman and Hawkeye, the obvious answer is Superman. But if you wanted Hawkeye to be the winner, Hawkeye could be the winner with a well enough crafted story. It goes back to that video that Stan Lee created years ago, talking about how he is sick and tired of hearing who would win between this and this. The winner is based off of the writer of the book. It's who you want to win. These are fictionalized characters, and still so many people get so damn angry when they see one character beats another character. They get so damn angry at other people when other people have an opinion on their character. A huge debate I see today is Batman versus Black Panther. And yeah, whereas that might be a really interesting, hard-fought fight, in my opinion, it is Batman. It is a no-brainer. For every feat that Black Panther has, I can give you a feat that Batman has, but higher. If Black Panther has 10 feats that could scale above Batman, Batman now has 15 that could scale above Black Panther. But once again, that doesn't fit your narrative if you want Black Panther to be the winner. And all it does is it makes people pissy. How do you get around this? How could you make, say, an animated movie or a video game like an Injustice or a Mortal Kombat or a Capcom, but with DC and Marvel characters? How do you get away with making a movie intertwining all of these characters without getting people angry? I just don't know if it could work. You know, with a video game, maybe it could work. Once again, if you did it like a fighting game, anybody could win at that point. It's just about player skill. If it is a movie, live action, TV show, live action, animated show or film, that exists now. You can't just willingly throw out budgets left, right, and center to remake those types of films or shows because people do not like the outcome. Yeah, if Batman were to beat Captain America on screen, I mean, someone like me would be fine with it. I'm a Batman fan. I'm going to like that. But even though the majority would be Batman's side, you're going to have a loud minority who are saying, no, this is BS. And this goes the same for any character. Superman, Iron Man, Hulk, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Thor, anyone in the X-Men, anyone in the Justice Society. You're just not going to make people happy. So that's why I think if you were to ever do a Marvel and DC mashup, it needs to be friendly. I really do not think you could have these characters fight one another. And even if they were to fight, these characters need to end on a stalemate. The only thing you can get away with having someone lose is when these Marvel and DC characters team up to take down a common villain. I think Batman is the most unbeatable human character in comic book history. I think Superman is the most unbeatable super being character in comic book history. Could you imagine how audiences would react if they publicly lost to Marvel characters? Or could you imagine how audiences would react if they just publicly slaughtered Marvel characters on the big screen? It won't work. I think it is fine to have Marvel and DC separated, and the only way they cross over is in comic book form. I think it is okay to have this healthy but respectful competition. I don't think these are things we need answers for. We don't need answers on who would win between Green Lantern and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Who would win between Wolverine and Aquaman? We don't need these answers. This is all fictitious. This is all up to your personal opinion. Because from what I've seen over these past couple of years, it does nothing but make people hate one another, and it does nothing but oppose our communities. But that is my opinion on this situation, guys, and whereas I do believe DC DC and Marvel can coexist in comic books, I don't think it is necessary or even quite possible in film, television, and maybe even gaming. But now it is your chance to let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you think they could coexist, or are you on the same page where you think it's just too messy? But anyways, everyone, that's all I got for you in this video, and until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.